Hi, it's Gab, and I'm reviewing Zero Dark 40. It is a CIA drama thriller based on the true events of the hunt for and subsequent discovery and execution of Osama bin Laden. It's by director Catherine Bigelow, who 3 years ago won the Best Film Oscar for Hurt Locker, and it's gaining a lot of attention and has been nominated for an Oscar this year as well. A lot of attention because of the Oscar attention and the subject matter, and a bit of controversy about the politics and some of what goes on in the story or how it's portrayed. The focus of the story is a character by the name of Maya, played by Jessica Chastain, who is sort of the brains behind the CIA's operation, very driven and the most focused and the most knowledgeable and the sharpest when it comes to the tactics and the strategies that were employed to or supposedly employed to find bin Laden. So this is a very specific story, specific timeline. It's divided into chapters, but there's a lot going on and lots of characters. But everything is about this sole purpose of the story. It's not a character piece. It doesn't particularly delve into politics or any of the context. The context, of course, is set at the very beginning by a sort of somewhat subtle, or maybe not so subtle, intimation of the events of 9/11, and of course that's the driving force, and it culminates. It's no spoiler in the killing of bin Laden. So it's very procedural. That's the best way I can describe the way things unfold. It really is very procedural. It's almost like an extended whodunit episode, Criminal Minds or The Closer, where it's really piecing together of the puzzle, and some stakeouts, staring at satellite imagery and whatnot. Not to say it's not interesting, it's quite fascinating. I mean, you can really imagine these are the sorts of things that went on behind the scenes, although there are the touches of the possible Hollywoodization touches, a little bit in the story, a little bit in the dialogue, where you can sort of see, okay, well, this is where things have been, this is where the script comes in imposed upon the real story, but not in a bad way, and certainly it's very engaging and entertaining, as much as something that's so clinical can be. And something where the outcome. I mean, recently a film such as Argo, where the story is it's in the history books, and yet for the director to be able to tease out such tension and suspense is a real credit to the director, to the script, particularly the director, Catherine Bigelow here, where there's a lot of talk that she's been snubbed. She did not get nominated, although the film did get nominated for Best Film and other categories as well. It's very expertly handled and delivered by Catherine Bigelow. Extraordinary? I don't particularly think so. It was, as I say, interesting and entertaining, but it didn't go beyond that for me in any great way. It is gripping towards the end, and yet also I have to say that the final chapter is almost, I don't mean to sound flippant, but it's almost anticlimactic. That sounds really strange, but it almost felt that way. You could say credit to the director for the light touch and not going overboard at the end, but I left feeling a little bit cold, and I think the bottom line for me is that it wasn't a humanized enough story, and that seems like a strange critique of the story, because it isn't really it's not even about Maya, Jessica Chastain's character, but I guess for me personally, as the film goer, I wanted to be drawn in a bit more emotionally, compared to something like The Hurt Locker, where it is in some ways a character study of Jeremy Renner's character in the context of everything, the war stuff that's going on. And just for me, I like a bit more of that. I mean, her character remains an enigma. The only one piece clue we're given about her background is that she was recruited to the CIA out of high school, and that's really practically the only personal touch that we're given. And I maybe wanted a little bit more. The characters are all hinted at being sort of interesting, colorful characters, but it remains on the surface to service the the nuts and bolts of the story. And I understand that and I respect that. And just again, for me, it left me a bit cold at the end of it all, even though it's a very significant story and should be a very emotional story. Maybe it's because I'm Canadian. I don't know. Again, I don't want to sound flippant. It's a very significant historical story. But at the end of the day, at the end of the film, and it's a long film, and I was sitting in the front row too, which is never great, just didn't elevate me to something that's really going to stick with me, or that I feel the need to see again anytime soon. So Zero Dark 30. Look for it, Oscar talk, obviously Oscar noms, but for me it's a 3.9 Gabs out of 5. I can't quite give it a 4. Please look for the Gab and Dad playlist for the 2013 Oscars, where we've compiled all the reviews we've done of Oscar-nominated films, from Searching for Sugarman, The Sessions, even stuff like Mirror, Mirror, and Ted. We've compiled them all in a playlist, handy for you. Please look for it at Gab and Dad. Thanks for watching.